Now we're on the brink of economic collapse, the likes of which we haven't seen since 2008. It turns out printing 1/4 of the total money supply in a matter of months isn't a good idea. Who knew? To make matters worse, the company secretly pulling the strings behind everything is about to take center stage. Enter BlackRock, the company that owns you and you don't even know it. Founded by Larry Fink in 1988, BlackRock is the most powerful Wall Street fund in the world with $9 trillion worth of assets under management. That's larger than the gross domestic product, GDP, of every single country around the globe, with the exception of China and the United States. If you were to make $1 every second, you would be worth as much as BlackRock in about 240,000 years. I know, you're sick of it. There are plenty of companies and powerful people that have enough blood money to grind everyone into a paste. But here's why you should be particularly scared about BlackRock. BlackRock's absurd liquidity means that if you look at just about every major publicly traded company in the world, you'll find that BlackRock is its first, second, or third largest shareholder. Go ahead, try it. BlackRock's roots lie in active fixed income. Fink founded the company in 1988 around strategies that emphasize value creation through security selection and are implemented by a team of highly qualified portfolio managers employing a strictly disciplined investment process, according to the 1999 listing prospectus. Although the firm also launched the first US domicile bond ETF in December 2002, it didn't catch on the way stock ETF did. In BlackRock's case, $280 billion has continued to flow into active fixed income in the past 10 years. Fixed income is the biggest slug of what's left of the firm's active management businesses. It had $954 billion of actively managed bond funds as of June 30, compared to $393 billion of actively managed stocks. Passive has grown, but it's only 1.5 times bigger than active in fixed income, a much smaller gap than in equity. BlackRock boasts some impressive stats. In 2010, they were called the most influential financial institution in the world, and in 2014, they had $4 trillion under management, making them the world's biggest asset manager. For comparison, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China only had $3 trillion at the time, and as I just mentioned, their assets have doubled to more than $9 trillion over the past 7 years. It seems BlackRock has a hand in nearly everything these days. They are a top shareholder in some of the world's biggest publicly traded companies, a top shareholder of banks like Deutsche Bank at 4.81 in 2020. They were approved by the Chinese government to set up a mutual fund in China, making BlackRock the first foreign asset manager to be green-lighted for this. They also have shares in companies all over Europe, including industries like energy, oil and gas, transportation, food, and of course finance. And here's the kicker: BlackRock has what's called circular ownership, where they own shares in companies that own shares in BlackRock. Definitely not a conflict of interest, so they literally everywhere because of their staggering size and power and the fact that they largely operate out of sight. BlackRock has been called the world's largest shadow bank. The question is, what makes someone build something this big? Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about why you shouldn't be scared of BlackRock. You should be terrified. What BlackRock does is terrifying. If you put the big three asset management firms together, being BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, they control a collective of $15 trillion. That's roughly 70% of the United States GDP. During the 2008 housing crisis, when the government bailed out too big to fail giants like Lehman Brothers, Citigroup, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who do you think the Federal Reserve hired to clean up the mess? You guessed it, BlackRock. BlackRock also owns part of CNN and FOX, meaning they can unilaterally influence bipartisan information flow. Oh, and they manipulate what we buy, sell, consume, and even where we decide to live. They also own our politicians. Yet among the men who run Wall Street, it would be hard to find anyone who is not at least a little bit in awe of Larry Fink. While some, especially those who have known him the longest, snicker privately about how clearly the 57-year-old seems to relish his transformation in the last year and a half into a Wall Street statesman, its top consigliere, and the leading member of the country's financial oligarchy, there is nothing but admiration for the vast power of BlackRock. In December, when Fink's $13.5 billion acquisition of Barclays Global Investors was finalized, BlackRock, the company he founded 22 years ago, from state and local governments to college endowments, from Fortune 500 companies to the sovereign wealth funds of, among others, Abu Dhabi and Singapore. Larry Fink is known as the guy who always wanted more than he had. Friends have called him obsessive paranoid about maintaining control. He's been regarded as someone who knows the markets inside and out and understands business backwards and forwards, but it took him a massive $100 million loss to get to this point. Larry majored in political science at UCLA and got his start on Wall Street at age 23. Having that edge in politics would later play play a crucial role in him being the de facto middleman between Washington and Wall Street. He received offers from some of the top investment banks but decided on First Boston, where he worked on structuring and trading bonds, which sounds incredibly interesting. He rose up the ranks quickly, and within a decade he became somewhat of a legend on Wall Street by helping develop the debt securitization market, where loans like car loans, credit card loans, mortgages would be bundled together, sliced into pieces, and sold to other investors. If this sounds familiar, it's because these are the same mortgage-backed securities that led to the 2008 meltdown. But before that happened, this securitization of debt was considered really innovative, and it transformed the face of finance all of a sudden. If you're a giant bank or pension fund or whatever that wants to invest in the housing market, you can now invest in a mortgage-backed security made up of thousands of hopefully safe loans. Verify created one of the main tools that led to the meltdown, and he was also the one the US Treasury hired to clean it up. His interest in policy and strategic wizardry helped him gain a reputation as a true investment mastermind, and for that he was rewarded. Larry was making bank and received a ton of accolades. At just 31, he became First Boston's youngest managing director in history. Many even thought he would go to run the firm someday. In total, he helped out about $1 billion in assets to First Boston's bottom line, but then the rising star came crashing down shortly after one of his biggest wins. Larry lost $100 million for his company. A missed call on his hand resulted in trades being wiped out, as well as the hedges designed to offset those losses being wiped out, and overnight Larry went from a hero to a toxic asset that should be avoided at all times. He was ostracized, his reputation went up in flames, and his colleagues wanted nothing to do with him. He was forced out of the company. He spent 12 years making around $1 billion. For while a catastrophe like this might mark the end for many people, that wasn't the case with Larry. Instead, he used it as ammunition, vowing to never find himself in a position where he didn't understand the risks he was taking again. And in 1988, he was 35 and hell-bent on rebooting his career, so Larry co-founded the Blackstone Group along with now billionaire investor Stephen Schwarzman. They started off with a $5 million line of credit. Fast forward to 1993, and they were crushing it with $20 billion under management. But in what some would call a power struggle between Fink and Schwarzman, where two super strong personalities collided, the two parted ways, and Larry broke off to found BlackRock, channeling all his pain and trauma into growing the firm at a staggering rate. By 1999, it went public for $375 million. By 2004, it merged with Merrill Lynch, adding $500 billion to BlackRock's assets, and today it's at $9 trillion. While the size of BlackRock is impressive, what really sets them apart is our software platform called Aladdin, basically a supercomputer they use for their clients. In 1999, BlackRock started selling Aladdin, which analyzes and tracks investors' portfolios and can help professional money managers spot risks. Today, it is a juggernaut widely used in the money management industry and beyond. This software works with thousands of computers for 34 hours and is continuously striving to manage the financial ecosystem of the world. Interestingly, Aladdin was first created to handle BlackRock's business. Now, apart from BlackRock, it is used by different clients of BlackRock's to manage their investments. Since the financial crisis in 2008, the demand for Aladdin has surged all over the world, and some of the largest enterprises are dependent on it. Needless to say, by managing $21 trillion and counting, it is ruling the investment management industry of the world. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the subscribe button for more awesome videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.